Hello, everyone. I see that people are trickling in. I'm seeing some familiar faces, so glad to see so many of you today. We'll begin in a moment, and I'll get my slides and all of that ready because we have a few slides to share today. And here we go. We have more people joining. That's great. First off, I'm subbing in for my colleague Ben, who usually hosts these events, but he was unable to be here today. So if you don't know me, I'm Veronique. Vero or Veronica are also fine. I'm the Director of Research and Evaluation with Mentor Canada. I've been here for over 4 years now, but still meeting new people in this very wide mentoring field. So let me share the slides for today's event. And here we go. If you give me a thumbs up, if you can see everything, if it looks good, wonderful. And here we go. So a few things to get us started. I would like to begin by acknowledging that Mentor Canada operates on lands and traditional territories of respective First Nations, Métis nations, and Inuit people who have been longtime stewards of these lands. Our team is spread across the country. Myself, I'm located in unceded territories of the Mohawk Nation. So quickly today, we'll have a quick introduction about what the Mentoring Showcase is about, a few things that we found in the research that Mentor Canada did a few years ago that had some interesting findings about youth with disabilities. And we also have, obviously, the main event are the presentations from our various speakers and who will talk about their initiatives and their programs. And at the end, we will have time for Q&A, introductions, discussions, and all of that. So let me just see, because we have a waiting room for this and I don't want to miss anybody. Let me see so I can manage the everything while we go. Here we go. Okay. Thank you for bearing with me.
Shaneika, do you want to make me co-host and I can let people in while you're talking? Like if people come in?
Yes. Who is speaking?
It's Morgan, sorry.
Oh, yes, Morgan. How about that? There we go.
There you go. I can let people in now, I guess.
Thank you. That's helpful.
No problem.
I'm subbing in and I'm like, whoa, okay, there's more to this than I remembered. Okay. So here we go. So the Mentoring Showcase events, they're really designed to celebrate the diverse mentoring programs and initiatives that are operating across Canada and showcase how they're helping young people through mentorship. They're also a good way for members of our community of practice to discover new partners, discover new approaches to mentorship, and perhaps form connections with people with whom they have shared goals and interests. And this is, as I mentioned, part of our community of practice. So if you're not already registered for the community of practice, you can go on our website at qualitymentoring.ca or scan this QR code and register for the community of practice today. So as I mentioned earlier, today's conversation really focuses on how mentoring is used to support young people with disabilities. And when we conducted our large-scale mentoring study back in 2020, and when we really wanted to understand whether young people's mentoring needs were being met and what the impact of mentoring was for young people across Canada, we surveyed almost 3,000 young people. And among the respondents, we found that 42% of them identified as either currently or previously haven't had a functional disability, so an impairment or something that limited their activities. And we also found that 26% of the respondents reported that they had received a professional diagnosis for their disability. So it's, if you're not very familiar with the disability field, to me at first it seemed like, oh, this is much higher than I assumed. So it was a kind of an educating moment for me to learn about how many young people are experiencing or have experienced disabilities in their lives, and seeing how mentoring can be used to support young people who experience disabilities. And what we found is that when we are comparing some outcomes of young people who've had or haven't had mentors growing up, we tend to find that young people who had mentors are proportionally doing a little bit better than their peers who didn't have access to supportive mentoring relationships. Although there is still a gap between young people or respondents who have disabilities and all respondents when it comes to achieving those positive outcomes, right? So young people with a diagnosed disability who had a mentor growing up reported positive mental health in higher proportions. Same thing with their sense of belonging. So having a mentor could play a role in fostering a sense of belonging. Same thing for completing high school or pursuing further education or training after high school, or being employed or studying. So let me see, let me pull up the chat here so I don't miss anything. All right. So those are some very quick findings from our study. We also found that there was a significant gap in terms of access to mentoring for young people with disabilities. So when we talk about the mentoring gap, we're really thinking about our lack of access to the right kinds of mentoring opportunities at the right time. And we found that 40% of our respondents who had a diagnosed disability didn't have a single person they considered a mentor when they were growing up, so during their childhood or adolescence. And perhaps more importantly, we also find that almost 3/4 of them recall a time when they wanted a mentor, but they couldn't access a mentor. So some pretty important gaps to keep in mind here, and to work towards closing as a group. So today's speakers, we have a few speakers today. Helen Ries, sorry Helen, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, who's an advisor with Siblings Canada, will kick us off and present about their program. Helen cannot stay for the full event, so after her presentation we can take a few questions for her before moving to the next presentations. Then we have Mary Bashai from MentorAbility Canada, who will be followed by Shaneika Brown, and finally Morgan Ineson will be presenting from Fighting Blindness Canada. So an exciting group of presenters for you today. So is this in the right order? Yes. Okay, I will hand it over to Helen.
Hi, thank you. Our logo looks a bit funky there, but anyway, I'm Helen, and I'm the co-founder of Siblings Canada, which is an initiative of the Canadian Centre for Caregiving Excellence. You can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So Siblings Canada doesn't work directly with people with disabilities. What we do is we work with the brothers and sisters of people with disabilities, and typically we work in the adult space, although we are starting to explore young siblings as well. And what we do is we support adult siblings so that they can be their best selves in supporting their brothers and sisters over the life course. So many people with disabilities are outliving their parents now, and brothers and sisters are stepping into caregiving roles. And so that's where we do the bulk of our work. So our aim is to strengthen and empower siblings of people with disabilities to fulfill their changing roles, so that they can do that with greater confidence and influence. And we have a little asterisk beside siblings because we also welcome sibling-in-laws or cousins or any kind of person who might consider themselves a second generation carer. And just to maybe link it to your intro, Veronique, you know, a lot of siblings of people with disabilities hold over a lifetime a kind of mentoring role, just due to the nature of the sibling relationship. So that's the work that we do in a nutshell. And then next slide, please. So in a bit more detail, these are the areas in which we work. So siblings of people with disabilities have typically been overlooked and not considered really an important part of the family ecosystem of care. So what we work on is advancing awareness of the important role that siblings play, you know, over the whole life course, but also really in the very long-term well-being of people with disabilities. We do quite a bit of research. We have a lot of different research partners, the University of Western Ontario, the Centre for Addiction and Mental Health, University of British Columbia, and we're trying to fill the gap in understanding the experiences of siblings of people with disabilities in Canada. And this is where our mentoring program falls. We bring adult siblings together to share their experiences and learn from each other. So we do that through mentoring and a variety of other programs as well. And then finally, we want to really build the capacity of service providing organizations who work in disability so that they can, you know, start to engage siblings, because again, they've been typically left out of the conversation. Next slide, please. So I'll tell you a little bit about our mentoring program. We recruit mentors and mentees through our website, through social media, through word of mouth. We send out e-newsletters. We also get quite a few referrals. There's an online application process, and people can apply at any time throughout the year to be either a mentor or a mentee. We actually just call it an inquiry form because we find that a lot of siblings actually don't know if they want to be a mentor or if they want to be a mentee, which probably sounds quite funny, but people have a lot of experience, but they're not really sure if they're ready to share it, or they're not really sure if there are some gaps in what they want to know. We don't have a screen because we're working in the adult space. We don't have a vulnerable sector screening process, but we do have quite an extensive training, mentor training process, which for us acts as the screening tool for our mentors. And once we've trained our mentors, once we have our mentees who are ready to be matched, we bring everybody together and we have a large group meeting online where we go over sort of like expectations or protocols of how our mentoring program works so that everybody has the same information before they start. The way we match mentors and mentees is based on the application form, what people are saying that they're looking for. You know, because we operate all across Canada, sometimes we try to match people geographically, although that's not as important as, let's say, what they're looking to learn or to offer. And also we try to match so there's a proximity in age if that works. Our program usually starts around March. So even though we take inquiry forms throughout the year, our program really starts in February, March. So we start in February with our training for mentors. And then when we kick it off, we invite siblings to connect with each other over a period of 8 months. And in those 8 months, we invite them to connect 6 to 8 times, like once a month, either by phone or over Zoom or whatever virtual technology they're using. And we have a program lead who's Katie. And Katie does a lot of check-ins with people to see how it's going. She's always available by email. And then, of course, we do quite a bit of evaluation of our program. Next slide, please. So the training is free. And but it is mandatory. So you can't be a mentor unless you've actually been through the training. And we use a platform called Thinkific, and it's self-directed. There's a number of online modules, so that part people can do on their own at their own leisure. But we do have 3 hours of direct contact on Zoom, where the program lead will go through different kinds of scenarios and different kind of direct practice for mentors on that online format. And I think might be interesting for people here to know that we took our mentoring program from the Ontario Caregivers Organization, with their permission, of course, and that they had built their mentoring program from Carers Western Australia. So the program that we are delivering is evidence-based, it's well-researched, and has a track record of success. So we feel like we have taken from the best to put together our mentoring program. Next slide, please. Yeah. So we've run 3 rounds of mentoring so far in this structure. We did try mentoring. We had a pilot mentoring, so I think we've been through mentoring about 4 times, and we run it once a year. So our next, we're already starting to get inquiries, and we'll be hosting some information sessions where we invite people to join and learn more about the mentoring program, and then we'll be running a new session in March 2024. We get about 20 to 30 people per session. I'd really like to see that grow, but Siblings Canada is actually quite a young organization. We're about 6 years old, and our connection with CCCE is also new. So there's some momentum gathering that's happening, but these things do take time. We don't specifically focus on young people. We invite siblings from all age groups, and we'll, as it says here, we get from anywhere from 22 to 67. That's what we've had so far. And we get people from all across Canada coming to the program. Many people are saying that they're satisfied or very satisfied with their experience in mentoring. And then what we do see, which is really exciting, is we see transitioning from people being mentees to becoming mentors. This is just a little quote from one of the mentees who said that they felt understood and validated. And that's something that, a lot of siblings of people with disabilities don't have connections to other people with disabilities. When there's parents or even people with disabilities get to connect right away, like parents will connect perhaps upon diagnosis with organizations or groups that reflect the diagnosis of their child, or people with disabilities connect in schools, organizations, and programs, but siblings don't have that opportunity. They often don't connect with each other until there's a crisis or they're well into middle age. So that people feel understood and validated is really important, and is, the best case outcome from our mentoring program, one of the best case outcomes. So a lot of people do feel like they are alone in their situation, and so that's why we work so hard to connect siblings together. Next slide, please. We're happy to share information about our mentoring program or to connect with mentoring partners. So you're welcome to connect with Katie. Katie couldn't be here today, so I'm subbing in, but Katie is the lead of our mentoring program at Siblings Canada, and you can connect with her if you'd like to learn more, or talk to us about partnering or something like that. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. I know that you cannot stay for the entire time, so I want to pause for a second to see if there are any questions from our participants today. If you do, you can just use a little raise your hand function, and then you can ask your question out loud, or you can type it in the chat if you prefer. So I'll give it.
Thank you.
And I see
if you think of a question after too, you have our email address, and
yes. I'll share the slide again for after this. While we wait to see if someone has a question. Oh, maybe I can ask you one, Helen. Can you talk a little bit more? Oh, Alan, go. How about you go ahead? I'm sure your question is more interesting than mine, so please go.
I'm sure that's not true, but my question is, I have two sons. They both have disabilities. Could they both become involved in this program?
So, both your sons are people with disabilities?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, so we typically support people who have a brother or sister with a disability, and that doesn't exclude people with disabilities, most certainly. But we tend to, we have had siblings before come together, and then we've had one mentor both siblings. And that's worked out quite well. Although what we do is we have split up, at times we've split up the mentees so that they have some private time with their mentor as well. So, you know, as the siblings, they may be facing common issues, but we like to give people an opportunity to also spend some time with their mentor on their own. So yeah, I mean, it depends on what they're hoping to do. A lot of our siblings come to us around the issues of future planning, so that they're you know, what are they going to do when their parents pass away and they are going to be become the primary caregiver of their brother and sister with a disability. So if your sons are grappling with that kind of issue, that would be a really good match for our mentoring program.
Yeah, honestly, I do think both of them could actually attend the mentee and the mentor training and be mentors for each other. They're very close in age, and I'm going to say very high functioning, though I don't like to use that term. They're both physically capable. It's the neurodivergent aspect of their disability that concerns us the most. But as mentors for each other, would that be something that would be a good idea?
I would like to talk to Katie about that, because I don't think that that's a fabulous match in our program. I think what's interesting, if they have access to each other on a regular basis, but what's brilliant about our program is getting new people, bringing their insights in and observations and sharing experiences. So I think if they typically have access to each other, it's really bringing in that new, fresh perspective and hearing other people's stories that can be very validating.
See, that to me, that would be very developmental as well, especially for my oldest son. My youngest son has a particular sensitivity to everything that's going on around him, but I see them both taking the mentee training, developing a mentoring relationship with somebody from your program, and then learning from each other how to mentor each other. Over the course of years, they're still quite young. They're in their early 20s, but I'm looking at a long-term solution of the two of them sticking together. You know?
Yeah, maybe you know, we do have younger siblings in our program, and they're typically matched with, let's say, somebody who has more experience or who has been through the transition to a caregiving role. So in a couple of years, they might be it might be a good place for them. So yeah, reach out to Katie, and you can check our website. We have the inquiry form on our website, and they can submit an inquiry form, and Katie will reach out.
Okay, thank you. I'll discuss it with both of them.
Thank you, Alan. One question from the chat for you, Helen, before we let you resume your daily activities. Is this only open for Canadians, or is it open for people in other countries?
So our funder is Canadian. So the Canadian Centre for Caregiving Excellence is our primary funder. So we do favor Canadians. Having said that, We have had Americans join our program, so I think the question is, it depends if we have a large volume of Canadians attending. But you know, mentor matches, as I'm sure everybody on this call knows, it's a very special kind of match, and it's good to have a lot of folks, a lot of options, a lot of folks who are trained up to be mentors. And it's really, I'd say our funder is Canadian, and our primary interest is having an excellent matches for our mentees. So certainly we would welcome people to inquire, and then Katie can, you know, see if that works well for the cohort that we have coming up.
Thank you so very much for sharing with us today.
Thank you.
Program.
Thanks for inviting us.
Excellent. I will resume screen sharing and pass it over to Mary from MentorAbility.
Great, wonderful. Hi, everyone. Really thrilled to be here today. I am not Richard Cockrem. He gives his regrets. He could not be here today, but I'll share both of our contact information afterwards, should anyone want to reach out to either of us. Next slide, please. So I'm going to talk about a project and an initiative that is run through the organization I work for, which is called the Canadian Association for Supported Employment. We're a national association, so we do not do direct service delivery, but we do engage with a network of employment service providers who have an interest and knowledge and experience around disability inclusion across the country. And it's really pan-disability, so we really do have really broad coverage. And our vision is really to have equal access to all opportunities, including employment and self-employment opportunities for those who experience disability. Next slide, please. Thank you. So one of our initiatives is called MentorAbility Canada. This project started off in 2019 as a national initiative, and we are just really pleased that we're now starting the next 3-year phase of the project presently. Our initiative is funded by the Government of Canada through their Opportunities Fund for Persons with Disabilities. So we are a project that is focused on mentorships and mentoring, but we're using it for the intention of growing, providing career discovery opportunities for job seekers, which can really include youth who might be entering the labor force for the first time, or who are maybe looking for a career path that might be meaningful to them. And we're using those mentorship opportunities also then to have a conversation with employers and to work with those employers to render their workplaces more inclusive. So we coordinate this national initiative, and we do it through partnerships and collaborations across the country. And so, yeah, it's a very exciting initiative. And so there's a lot of structural things, which I'll get into in a second. Thanks. Next slide, please. One thing with our mentorship model, it's intentionally not a long-term relationship. Each mentorship that we are facilitating lasts from 1 hour to 1 day. It's really intended to be from a discovery perspective. And we use that short model to allow us to enter into conversation with employers. We find that mentors across the country are very happy to share their experiences, knowing that it's not necessarily a long-term commitment, but it provides that one initial opportunity for a connection. It's facilitated by a mentorship facilitator who is within our network, and we're always inviting others to come and join our network. We provide supports throughout the whole process, for the preparation, during, and then afterwards as well, with follow-up to both the mentor and the mentee. And it's really a beneficial opportunity for mutual sharing. In this image that is on the screen, this is an example of a mentorship that occurred where we've written up a story about it afterwards, and we interview participants. And actually, we just recorded a new interview with Sydney, so we'll be posting that soon. I'm happy to share that information with folks later. Next, please. So we do know, and as Veronique mentioned earlier, right, the importance that mentoring can have for youth, and for our definition as well. I mean, youth can be anywhere from 14, 15, all the way up to 30, 35. Our project is not youth focused, although youth are a huge component of the job seekers with whom we're working. We're working with them so that they can make informed decisions about their careers. And we recognize that you have to sometimes start with a job. You want to get that first job. But what we're hoping is that those youth who experience disability have opportunities to really get excited about where they want to go with their futures and have a future pathway. We're hoping through this experience, and you can participate in more than one mentoring experience. We're hoping as you go through it, you've built confidence, you've expanded your professional network. As mentioned, it could be you're just starting to enter the workforce for the first time, or you might be looking to expand your career into something that's really exciting. And you may want to have some more knowledge about what is the pathway that you might need to follow in order to achieve those goals that you have. And this is a picture in the image of a young person who wanted to explore an opportunity for graphical design. And so they spent about half a day with the graphical designer, learning about what the career meant to be a graphical designer and actually playing around with our logo. So you'll see the MentorAbility logo there, learning what tools are used in order to be in that career space. And so leaving that experience, that individual had a better sense of what could be provided. So the mentoring experiences could be anything from helping the person to develop their resume. It could be doing a mock interview. It could be actually going and doing job shadowing for a day. It could be a conversation. So there's many ways that it can be tailored. And that's really where those facilitators work to make sure they've got a really good match for the job seeker as well as the employer. Next, please. So this slide has images on it that are sort of depicting the typical work that we do. Mentorships are really our bread and butter. It's what we get excited about. Those experiential learning opportunities, even though they are brief, can be very powerful. But we recognize that we need to do more as well if our goal is to have those who are participating in our project from both the employer side as well as the service provider and the mentee side to raise awareness and improve on their learning and knowledge. So we do host a lot of networking and learning events. We also share stories and opportunities through social media. And we're just starting to build more work around research and evidence building to help support our work and complement the work and to identify for us where are the gaps so that we can then look at developing tools and mechanisms to support that. And so we're thrilled on that side that we started to work with Mentor Canada on some research around disability and employment, and we're going to be expanding that in the future as well. Next slide, please. This slide just shows a picture of Canada with little dots around it, showing sort of what we have accomplished in the first phase of the project, which ended last March. So throughout the country, we convened over 700 mentorship matches, and as well as over 1,000 events. In the Northern Canada, we did a pilot project. So you'll see that the numbers there are less large, but we're really thrilled in this next phase of the project that we're also working to have fully established teams to help support our work in the North as well. And in addition to this, we work with close to 400 employers across the country as well. I think, yeah, if we can go back maybe. Yes, thanks. I think, whoops. I can forget the quotes at the beginning. So there's just some quotes here. I'm happy to share this presentation with folks if you'd like to read it later, which talk about some of the benefits. Let's just focus on this slide here, which is talking about job seekers, so the youth who are participating. They're really increased reporting that they have increased knowledge that will help them increase their employability skills. And a couple of the quotes, the first one is, there are more opportunities available for me than I realized. So you only know what you know. And so through those experiences where you can be meeting with someone for an hour to a day, you might learn more about what is required in that field and make a decision as to, is that an area you're interested in or not? And for us, a successful mentorship is coming out with something saying, whoa, this is actually not what I thought it was. It's not the area that I want to go into. And maybe have a second mentorship with that knowledge that might help you get closer to that path. And then I got hired. So we have a number of, quite a large number, a percentage of our job seekers or mentees who participate, and they get hired either by the organization with whom they had that mentorship, or they just gained confidence and self-awareness so that when they went for the next job interview, they were successful. Next slide, please. This is Disability Employment Awareness Month, so it's something that we celebrate. We have a lot of campaigns. If you go to the next slide, I can show you kind of examples of what our network will do. So in conjunction with our partners in Ontario, the Ontario Disability Employment Network, we support their campaign to light it up for NDEAM, for Disability Employment Awareness Month. So the picture on the left is a picture of the Sudbury coin lit up purple. And then on the right, you'll see examples of employers who are really promoting inclusion. And so we develop resources and engage with them. As an example, the picture with Swiss Chalet. In this area, Swiss Chalet put on stickers to recognize Disability Employment Awareness Month, as well as a little information card in every bag of takeout food that was given out. So we'll do that as an example of the month of October. Next, please. Mentioned that there is some research that Mentor Canada is really strong and engaging in a lot of research, and we're thrilled that we participated with them in some research that will soon be published. And so we're continuing that work on that side to have that evidence and awareness of the benefits of mentoring and what are the challenges or barriers that those persons who are with disabilities or who are youth with disabilities are experiencing. And I just wanted to extend an invitation as well on the next slide. We have started to engage more with different sectoral councils. One of them is the Mining HR Council. And if you go to the next slide, they themselves are undertaking some research to look specifically at what are the factors and influencing criteria that might influence a youth who is looking to make career-related decisions. And this might be youth who are with disabilities, First Nation, Métis, and Inuit youth, or youth who are newcomers to Canada or who have had immigrating experiences. And so they're going to be undertaking some research, and they're inviting organizations and individuals who may have a disability, who are between the ages of 15 and 30, or organizations who are supporting youth of that age group, to reach out to them to explore participating in that research. And what they're intending to do with that research is now build more awareness campaigns around the job opportunities in their sector, as it might be more pertinent to youth. But yeah, that's really it for my presentation. We'd be very thrilled to work. We work with a variety of community partners across the country, and that we would love to work with anyone as well who might be interested in tapping into our network. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. We'll go on to the presentation from Diana and Shaneika from Best Buddies Canada. And if you have any questions for Mary, feel free to put them in the chat, or we can ask them at the end after the next presentation. So over to you, Diana and Shaneika.
Hi, everyone. So I'm really excited to be able to present what our organization does. And so Best Buddies Canada is a national charity that's dedicated to creating one-to-one friendships and leadership opportunities for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Fun fact, but it was actually first started in the US by Anthony Kennedy Shriver. So they are our parent organization, and to this day, we still work under their umbrella, and our program, they offer a lot more programs, but we've specifically focused on that friendship one-to-one. The goal of the program really is to alleviate loneliness and isolation and build leadership skills, social skills, and confidence through friendships. Our vision for the future is a world that fosters awareness and inclusion and supports individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Since our inception in 1993, we have helped create over 150,000 friendships at more than 500 chapters nationwide. We have chapters in every province. When we say chapters, we mean schools who are running the Best Buddies program. So we have a lot of schools all across Canada who have signed on. Teachers help run the program, and the students work together to develop those one-to-one friendships. Next slide. Now, the purpose of our mentoring program is to offer social mentoring and improve the quality of life and level of inclusion for participants. Throughout their participation, people with an IDD will form meaningful connections with peers. They gain self-confidence and share interests, experiences, and activities that neurotypical individuals may take for granted. And I'll just share a quick example, but we've had, for example, we have one of our buddies who just loves sports. So anytime in the past, I know the MLSC used to donate tickets to us to go to TFC games. So again, that individual who was on the spectrum, he has autism. He would actually get so excited because he would get a ticket and then he was able to go with some of his friends who are neurotypical. And for him, that was like the highlight of his month. He enjoyed it so much. And so he would always reach out to us asking us, is there more opportunities that we can, for him to go to a game? And it wasn't just about the game. It was just about the fact that it was an experience for him to have with his friends. And our program operates in schools, or as I mentioned earlier, we use the term chapters across Canada with one-to-one and group meetings occurring bi-weekly. So our program runs in middle schools, elementary schools, and high schools, as well as colleges and universities. Now, with post-secondary participants, they are paired with adults with an intellectual and developmental disability. And oftentimes we actually have partnering organizations. So we're partnered with community living, family services. And again, any organization that has adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities can partner with a school. So for example, we have University of Toronto Scarborough, who's actually partnered with Community Living Scarborough, and together they bring those individuals together to meet on a bi-weekly basis, and they just do friendship events. And I think one of the most popular ones I can say right now is the pumpkin carving activities that they love to do. So those are some examples of things that they do with each other. And our amazing staff advisors, who are our teachers, and our student leadership teams go above and beyond to plan engaging events. And the other thing too is in terms of our screening practices, Best Buddies implements strict screening measures to ensure the safety of all of their participants. At the university and college level, all buddies and peer buddies are required to fill out a pledge form. And in our pledge form, it usually has information in there that's about respecting each other, respecting boundaries, ensuring that, again, it's more about the safety of both individuals. So they have to adhere to Best Buddies guidelines in order to participate. And peer buddies, who are the volunteers at the university and college level, are required to submit a vulnerable sector check. So that's the two things that we require at the university and college level. And I'll hand it over to my colleague, Shaneika.
Hi there. So my name is Shaneika. I'm the Program and Finance Manager at Best Buddies Canada. I basically oversee all our program advisors in supporting all of our schools that run the program across Canada, as well as for day-to-day accounting needs. So to continue with our approach to mentoring, just to add to something that Deanna said, at the university and college level, all our participants are also asked to fill out an application form, which is on our website. So for training and support practices, our team offers program, activity, and fundraising manuals and guides. And this is basically to set out how chapters can set up and run their program, and also to guide them on events and activities that they can run throughout the year. Or events and activities have modifications for persons that have limited mobility, or for virtual events. I mean, when COVID hit, we had to adapt to make sure that even if persons could meet in person, which wasn't possible at that time during lockdowns and restrictions, they still had a way to connect virtually. We also conduct leadership training seminars at the beginning of each school year, and this is where our leadership teams at our universities and colleges are able to come and get a breakdown of what's in their manual and ask any questions they have to clarify requirements or procedures, how to go about running their chapter. Our program advisors, they also maintain close relationships with each individual chapter throughout the year. So we offer ongoing support via email, phone call, Zoom meetings, and we also visit schools in person whenever we can. This we find is the best way to experience the impact of the program firsthand. There's nothing better than going to a school and seeing them gather for their biweekly activity, just to witness the interaction between the students, those with and without an IDD. For matching practices, teachers in high schools and the student leaders and community agency staff in university and college programs, they are the ones who conduct the matching. So the staff at Best Bunnies, we don't really do the matching ourselves. We leave that to the teachers in the high schools and the student leaders, because they have more, they're there with the volunteers, they're there with the participants, right? They know them better than we know them, so we leave that up to them. They do get the information from our system to do the matching. So all the information that comes from our application forms, that's provided to them. And they match mentors and mentees based on shared interests, age, location, availability, and any other relevant factors. And we do this to ensure that friendships are tailored for each individual pair. Because what we're trying to do is ensure that relationships that are built, they're successful and they're long lasting, right? We don't want to force a match that won't last beyond the semester or the school year. So we try to encourage schools to do matches that will last beyond that period. At the end of the school year, so our program runs with the school year from September to April for university and colleges, and September to June for the other schools. So we like to celebrate the progress and milestones of our mentoring relationships in several ways throughout the school year. So we'll do chapter shoutouts, and we collect testimonials from our buddy peers, and we feature those on our social media platform. You can check out our IG page, our Facebook page, and you'll see those. We also do award programs. So we have awards of excellence, which we do in our Best Buddies month, which is normally in March. We have Spirit of Friendship Award, and this is where we recognize a buddy pair that really stands out throughout the year. These are normally done via nominations, either by the school or the program advisors who have been maintaining relationships with these schools throughout the year. And we also offer a scholarship to one peer buddy, which is a student, and one buddy, which is an individual with an IDD. We always try to recognize chapters, leaders, and teachers and buddy peers that are going above and beyond for the program. This is to encourage, it's a free program. It's free for them to participate, but we want to encourage them to continue doing the program year after year, because we've seen the impact that it has on both the mentor and the mentee. Friendships are maintained, as I said, from year to year whenever possible, so that the buddy peers continue to grow their connection. Next slide, please. Some of our key insights. So Best Buddies Canada, we started off with one chapter at York University in 1993. And in the 30 years that we've been operating, we've grown to become a leading nonprofit entity. We currently have 342 chapters and counting. When COVID hit, we lost some of our chapters. Some of them put the program on pause, which is understandable. So we're just trying to rebuild. The impact Best Buddies has on individuals with an IDD is immeasurable. Or virtual programming, it provides accessible activities for persons who may not be able to participate in person. As I said before, we do this mainly through Instagram. Sometimes we have Zoom events. Also, our in-person programming, it gives individuals with an IDD the chance to make lasting friendships and connections, to feel included, and also to develop leadership and social skills. So with the leadership skill aspect, we encourage all participants to be a part of the leadership team. So it's not just limited to the neurotypical student. So everyone has a chance to be a chapter executive or a chapter president. Mentors, they too benefit from the program, right? They're making connections. There's opportunity for leadership skill development, and they get a feeling of being involved in their community. We have had many testimonials from both sides about how the program has really impacted their lives. And that is one thing that really motivates us to continue spreading our message across Canada. Best Buddies provides a successful model for mentoring programs that support youth with disabilities. We foster person-centered, inclusive, and long-term relationships while engaging with the volunteers, offering training and advocating for the rights and inclusion of individuals living with an intellectual and developmental disability. Next slide, please.
Right, thank you.
Gotten a little wonky.
Yeah.
If you'd like to find out more about our program, or like to get involved, or if you have anyone who might be a good fit for the program, you can feel free to contact us. You can also visit our website, and we'd be happy to get you started.
Thank you, Shaneika. And yeah, now I'm
Okay.
conscious of time, and we want to get to Morgan's presentation. So if you have any questions, I encourage people to reach out to Deanna and Shaneika. So I'll hand it over to Morgan.
Thank you. So hi everyone, my name is Morgan Ineson. I am the manager of education at Fighting Blindness Canada. And if you're not familiar with our organization, we are the largest charitable funder of vision research in Canada. In addition to supporting vision science and vision researchers, we also hold invaluable resources for people who are living with vision loss and for their families. We have a multitude of services and supports, including eye health information, both on our website, and we have a call-in and email-in service where we help people find the resources that they need to be the best advocates for their own healthcare. We also have educational events, both in person and online, around eye health. And we do a lot of work with governments and other stakeholders to advance sort of better vision health policies and practices in Canada. But notably for today's discussion, we also run youth programming. And part of that is a mentorship program that is specifically for people who are living with vision loss. We have a young leaders program that typically we will have a summit every year where we bring in young people from across Canada to network and to hear from successful professionals who are living with a vision condition. But this program was started during the pandemic. Like I hear that echoed from my colleagues here today, that, you know, to combat loneliness and isolation in that really difficult time, meeting once a year online was not enough. So this program was sort of developed to kind of keep people connected throughout the pandemic, and it's been very successful. So we've continued it since then. Next slide, please. So the purpose of our mentorship program is to help young people who are living with vision loss develop their employment, leadership, and advocacy skills with the helping guidance of an experienced mentor who is also living with vision loss. So that's something about our program, is that both mentors and mentees are people who have lived experience. On the slide here, I have a photograph of one of our mentor and mentees from this past year. Our program is Canada-wide, so it is a virtual program only. because we are dealing with a fairly small population. And again, reiterating what some of my colleagues have said today is that finding that right match, like we can't be limited by geography when we have so few people that are actually in this community. So we open it up to across Canada. But because we have an in-person summit this year, we had several mentor and mentees that were able to come together in person at our summit, which was a very special moment. So I have a couple photographs of those matches as we go through here today. So essentially, our program is around 9 months with pairs meeting at least once per month. All sessions take place virtually, either Zoom or the phone as well. On our end at Fighting Blindness Canada, we have developed an extensive toolkit that each participant gets at the beginning of the program that has resources, videos, lots of information just about how to get the most out of the program. But notably, it contains these 10 what we call conversation guides that includes resources, conversation starters, prompts to help structure each call. And our mentees can choose to focus on one for the entire year, or they can choose as many different ones as they want. And these include topics such as like disclosure and disability issues, building effective communication, dealing with difficult employment situations, how to use storytelling. So a very wide variety of topics. And our mentees are typically in that 15 to 35-year-old range, and our mentors are typically 30 plus, but there is some flexibility there. Next slide, please. So I'll go through this pretty quickly because I know we're really short on time, but we do screen our mentors and mentees with written applications and phone calls with the program staff. We do have many mentors that have returned from year to year. And really exciting now that we're 3 years in, we are seeing our mentees come back as mentors, which is, I think so exciting. And then we do provide them with in-depth training at the beginning of the program to get the most out of the experience. And then because we are quite a small program, we are available online, throughout the year for one-on-one support with them as well. As I've mentioned, all mentors and mentees have lived experience. So not to homogenize the experience, everyone is very different, but they do come into the program with a bit of a greater understanding about what those challenges might be. So that is already starting them off on a good foot with each other. And because our program is small, we're really able to get to know each participant before we match. So we do base the matches on shared career interests, but we also consider things like learning styles, specific skill building opportunities, personal interests, and just personality, because we're able to get to know them all a little bit before we do the actual matching. Through the year, we do monthly check-ins with all of our participants, and then we do in-depth phone calls midway through the program, just in case there's anything that comes up that needs to be course corrected. We have that opportunity to work with the pairs. And then at the end of the year, we have a virtual party to celebrate the achievements of both mentors and mentees. And like I said, this year it was really lucky we were able to get some of them together as well in person, which was really fun. Next slide. So as I mentioned, we started in 2021 during the pandemic, and at this point we've had 44 people complete the program. So we've had a few dropouts through the way, but these are the people who've actually gone all the way through, so 22 pairs. We've had very good satisfaction rates from our people coming in. And I didn't mention this on this slide, but I think it was like 100% of mentors say they've also gained personally from the experience. And all mentees say they've learned new things. So there's these really strong connections that are being built. And something we're looking at measuring now is how many of these pairs have continued to be connected through the program. And I just know anecdotally that number is very high. I just want to codify it a bit, but we hear back from people constantly saying they're still in touch with their mentors, 2 years on. What we found is the most beneficial in terms of a mentor is not just having someone who has lived experience, but also is willing and able to share their story openly and honestly. That is a really key thing that we've learned over the past couple of years. The relationships that have been most successful have been the people who are able to talk about the difficult things that have happened to them and work through some of those things with their mentees. The connections are also more successful when we think about personality and learning styles. So again, it's a small community, and just because someone comes in and says, well, I want to be a lawyer, the lawyers that we may have access to may not be the right lawyers for them. So we think about them as more of a holistic person, and that has led to much more successful matches. Accessibility and flexibility are key for this group, of course, but I think this is something that really needs to be taken into account for the building of any mentorship program, regardless of the participants. Because as Veronique mentioned at the beginning, disability is far more prevalent than we may think about, and it's not always visible. So really thinking about that at the beginning, I think, is super important. And of course, goal setting. I know this seems like probably a really obvious one, but having a way to actually codify, to write down, to have documentation of that goal setting at the very beginning has really helped keep our matches on track throughout the course of the program. Next slide. So I think I'll leave it there because I know we're on time, but if you have any questions or interested about our program, our website is here. It's fightingblindness.ca/youngleaders. You can email me. We have a great video on that website with interviews from our mentors and mentees. So I do encourage you to share that, spread the word to help promote our program, because our applications for next year are opening very soon.
Thank you, Morgan, and thank you everyone who presented.
I rushed through that. I'm sorry.
No, we underestimated how much information people had to share and how interesting each of the programs were. So I think that what we will do, and knowing that we're over time, is that we'll send a follow-up email to everybody who was here today. And since everybody has shared their contact information, we'll invite participants who might have questions to reach out directly to the presenters to learn more about these programs. There's an evaluation for today's event if you're able to participate and give us a bit of feedback. I thank you all for attending, and I'm pleased to see that so many of you stayed until the end. Well, I hope to see you again at a future event, and thank all of our presenters again today. So wishing you a pleasant rest of your day and a good weekend, everybody. We'll see you soon.